So messy here. I don't even know how to start this. I was unwell today, and now I have the opportunity to work from home when I'm unwell, so I don't have to take a sick day. So I work from home today, which is fun. And then, I'm coming down here after dinner and started pulling parts for my next build, my next time lapse that I keep on posting on my TikToks and posting the same one on the YouTube. So those of you who think TikTok's a huge, vast conspiracy of China. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong, but at this point, I don't care if you're right. If it is some sort of vast way for Central Intelligence of China to get your information, whatever. So I was pulling parts, and I came across, what did I come across? I came across this guy. I thought I had a few, but I only have one. So that's going to be a little bit of a detriment to my plans. We'll have to see. But I decided, I mentioned before, I have four, well, I'll pull them all out right now. So I have four of my shoebox bins full of wing plates. And this one is just a 4x4 and a 4x8, but I've also now added the 8x8s because it's close enough to 4x8s. You know, they basically are the same, except whatever. And some of my 8x8s need to be retrofitted. And since I took apart my big ship that was, 40 years in the making, 40 years. Since I took that thing apart, I got my wing plates back to build other stuff. I'm going to say I did have fun building that thing. And what I'm going to add to this thing, because it's emptier now, is I'm going to add these things. Because these are unique pieces. And these guys, and all of these guys, and all of these guys, and half of them are printed. Where are the printed ones? Oh, these guys are printed ones. So that's done. I'm going to also add to that bin my actual jet wing plates, which I have 5 complete sets, and then 3 right-handed wings. And again, I mentioned this before. I don't know how I got odd numbers. Like you would think the left and right would have basically the same, but I have 3 extra right wing plates in gray. Now, one of them is bent. You can see that it's pretty bent. It's got this little curve at the end. And one of them is pretty yellowed. Again, needs a retrofit. But again, I mentioned I was going to build the airport at some point because I would like it, and I built it before. It's just that right now I'm building sets I want to build that I've never built before. So I'm building sets I've never built before. So those wing plates are going to end up in here. And the other one that was really, because this is the first time, like I've sorted out my 4x4 and 4x8s. And of course, this entire bin is a 4x9 because I ordered a gabillion of them off of Bricklink over years when I was building my tower. And I didn't realize how many I had. Because basically I went to stores that I was ordering other parts from, and I said, oh, do they have any 4x9 gray wing plates? And I said, oh, he's got 10, he's got 15, he's got 30, and they're for a couple cents a piece. I'll just add them to the order, and they were coming in. Now, at one point, I'm going to mention, there was a 7.5 by 18 foot expansion of the classic space layout, and I had the grandiose, lofty ideas of having this huge space metropolis, which Simon Liu ran with. Thank you, Simon. So I never got there, and I don't mind not getting there. So I have this whole bin of 4x9 wing plates. 4x9 wing plates. And yeah, it is something else. What I'm going to do with all these wing plates, I have no idea. So I got one bin already done, and I have 2 bins already done, the 4x4, 4x8, and the Explorer / everybody else. Only one of these that I can find. That's fine. And then I have a whole stack of these. Now, I could not tell you right now off the top of my head which sets the gray ones came in. Black ones came in Mega Message Intercept Base and the Renegade. Blue ones came in a whole bunch of sets. White ones came in the Futron sets. Gray ones came in a set, I'm sure. But again, I ordered these from Bricklink because these things are perfect for the tower, because I used a ton of these in the tower. But I have a ton more. I have 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21 of these. Now, since I reconstituted basically every single classic space set that was ever created, except for the light and sound, which I'm going to get around to, and that didn't include these. I have these, and I'm sure there were other sets, and I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, hey, on my videos that came in what set numbers, and I'm going to be fantastic, and I might recreate that. But these things are less important to me now because the tower's finished. Right. So I bought them for creating my towers and my layouts, and now I'm not expanding the layout, so I have all these things. So again, do I open up a Bricklink store and sell them, or whatever? The other one is, so this thing is only half full because I cleaned things up and reorganized and sorted. I'm sorting out better and better. These are these quote unquote smaller wing plates that are various sizes. So you got these guys in here, and you got these corner ones in here, and you got my favorite little 3x3 in here, and and nothing but 4x4 with the notch out of it, and so various things, various tails of these guys, fantastic. And I did that because basically these two bins were just kind of sorted together. Everything got pointed, because now this whole bin is just the other wing plate that doesn't have the little wideness at the bottom like an actual jet wing. These things, again, I bought a lot off of Bricklink because I was going to use them for something. And I changed my mind. These were the original plates, modified plates that I used to make my landing pads that were on the tower, because these things were light, and so I just made an octagon-ish looking thing just by putting them like that on the edge of the landing pad. And I needed 8 on the top and 8 on the bottom, so I needed 16 per landing pad. So that's 16 times 4, 64. And I think there's a lot more than 64 in here, but now they're all in here. And so I'm going to put these guys, I don't know which side I'm going to put them on. And then I'm going to leave this guy up because I'm pulling parts. So again, what happens over the course of collecting over decades, you get a ton of something. If you're anything like me, you'll get a ton of a piece that at one point was very, very significant, very, very important, very, very necessary to whatever you're building at the time. And then life moves on, you go on to something else, you come up with a different idea, and all those pieces that you ordered, which again, these guys and these guys become, I won't say irrelevant. No Lego is irrelevant, but less important, and gets relegated to sitting on the shelf for until the end of time. And again, this is why I am downsizing. So, I mean, how am I going to downsize these 4x9s? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't even know what they're going for at Bricklink. They were not expensive, because that's why I ordered so many of them. They were not expensive on Bricklink at the time. And this is almost 2 decades ago now. I mean, with all seriousness, I think we started as a Lego space display back between 2004 and 2007, somewhere in there. So we were talking 2 decades ago when I started ordering those things. So it is what it is. So I've been doing that tonight, getting all that sorted out. Also, on a completely tangential, but somewhat related topic, if we're talking about just an overstuffed of parts, I'm going to mention I never bought one AquaZone set myself, for myself, ever. Not once. I never did that. I bought a few smaller ones for my nephews, because AquaZone was the set du jour back in the day when they're in their 20s, almost 30s now. So AquaZone, whenever that came out. When did AquaZone came out? I'm looking at AquaZone, when I'm looking. right now, 1998, perfect. Right, so I did buy, I think, 2 or 3 Aquazone sets, the smaller ones, not the tiny ones, but the smaller ones. I gave my nephews for Christmases or birthdays. I got all of those back when Brian left me the steamer trunk full of Lego. So I got them back. So basically, I did buy them for me, but through the acquisition of a whole bunch. And again, I don't even know if these are Aquazone, because I'm not a huge piece understanding or what's specifically Aquazone, but it's got a picture for submarine on it. so either Aquazone or some other underwater features. And I was, as I was sorting, I found I have a bevy. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 29, 20, 26. I was getting mad there for having an odd number, but I have 26 that I could find readily and easily. Now, those just came in used lots. I never ordered those on Bricklink, and I never bought one of those in a set. So they just came through on the various used lots that I purchased over the years. 26 of them. And I won't tell you how many of these I have. So it's like, I don't know. I do find sometimes, like when I say I only have one of these, but 26 of these, like I'm going, really? So that makes little to no sense to me sometimes. But I have one of these, and that was important for what I'm reconstituting right now. I'm gonna have to find yet another one, just because I want to. But I thought I'd make a nice little video before I go to bed, because I am tired, and being tired makes me a little punchy. But before I went to bed, I wanted to talk about, I already showed you guys my Octagon box, my shoebox full of the yellow Octagons that they came in Aquazones and a whole bunch of other sets. I got a bin full of those because I ordered a whole bunch of those on Bricklink. And again, exactly the same point. I had an idea. I actually had those things at a few shows, and they looked good, but they stood out in the layout. The yellow Aquazone Octagon 2x2 by 2 2/3 bricks. I had a bunch of, I used them as the towers, the supports, because they look good. I made them yellow and black, and they held up all the monorail to the entire layout. Everything, all the monorail that was outside the building was held up by 2x2 Aquazone Octagons. And I did that for a bunch of shows. I even built the first gantry for Jeff's rocket out of the 2x2 Octagon, 2x2 by 2.5 bricks, 2 2/3, and I liked it, but it became too obtrusive for visualizing. You notice the supports before you notice the layout, and I wanted the antithesis of that. I wanted people to notice the layout before they notice the supports for the monorail. And right now, overall, the monorail stanchions, the supports, are light gray, so they fade right into the 32 by 32 crater plates. You barely see them, which I like a lot better now. So I have, again, a full bin of Octagon bricks. What am I going to do with them? so this is hence the downsizing. And so, especially on the Octagons, especially on the 4x9s, especially whenever I'm going to get some sort of, when I go to Bricks in the Six or whatever show I'm doing, or even at the, maybe at the Turtle Lug events, I was going to put my little shingle out and say, hey, these things are X number of dollars a piece or cents a piece. Grab as many as you want. And even with these guys, I mean, like these things are not as obtrusive. They don't take up an entire bin, but I have 26 of them. Like, I just counted them and going, what? I am never, ever, literally ever going to use 26 of these things in anything that I've ever built in my life. My restoration of sets, I'm going to use whatever is needed for a restoration of set. What I think it'll probably be is 2 per set, left and right, just like when they have these things alternate colors for other sets, space sets, UFO sets. I don't need 26. But I thought I'd regale you before I go to bed. You know, go off on a tangent and yip about nothing very important in the world. The eclipse was awesome. I'm not going to dwell too much on that right now. I was working during the day, but I did manage to catch a peek once or twice, and it was really, really nifty. Because the last time an eclipse happened for me in my lifetime in my area was 1979, as we keep on finding out in the news. And it was a cloudy day. I will remember, so let's go off on this quick tangent. I remember vividly, again, I couldn't tell you the date, but I just was like, it was posted sometime in 1979. They didn't cancel school back then, but what they did do is that when I was in grade school, I went to a public school, fantastic school. I was probably Mr. Smith's class or Mr. Candu's class, 1979. I would have been grade 7, maybe grade 6. Grade 6, Mr. Garside. Either grades Mr. Garside or Mr. Canduth. Wonderful people, Mr. Garside especially, one of my most favorite teachers in my life, Mr. Garside. He was also the phys ed teacher. Many stories. I have many stories about the teachers I love. But anyway, so but back in my grade school, back in the day, 1979, the average school day, you had your class in the morning, and then there was a recess halfway through the morning, and then more class. I think it was a 15-minute recess, and then I can go over here. I'm thinking about it. And then lunchtime, which was like an hour or something for now, 45 to an hour for lunch. And then class in the afternoon, and then recess, and then the rest of the day until 3 o'clock, and then you got dismissed. What happened on Eclipse Day, it was well conveyed to us and to the parents. The letter went home to the parents, letters, because there was no email back then, 1979, that they would change the schedule of the day for the school, that they would expand recesses, both recesses, by 30 minutes-ish, whatever the lunch period was, they divided by 2, and they made both recesses longer, and they eliminated the lunch period. So we could not be outside during the eclipse. That was important, because burn your eyes out, kids. Shoot your eyes out with Red Ryder Beaver gun. Burn your eyes out with the eclipse. And so I remember this day. I remember it very, very. Hey, eclipse is going. Woohoo! We're all, we did the little reports and learning what eclipses are and blah, blah, blah. We did our little science stuff. And it was really, really neat. And then the day of, because this was already pre-booked, the day of the eclipse, completely overcast. Like, not like it was yesterday. Like, yesterday was overcast in the morning, but the clouds, at least in this area, dissipated enough to get a really good look at the eclipse. It was fantastic. But back then, 1979, completely overcast the entire day. So there wouldn't have been a chance for us to look at the eclipse outside during lunchtime, had we had lunchtime not moved, because there was no way in little Winona, Ontario in 1979 that anybody saw the eclipse at any point. Now, the darkness, like, I don't remember if it was a full eclipse back in 1979 over Hamilton. We saw a full eclipse. Like, Niagara Falls saw the full eclipse, but it was almost totality. It was very, very dark this time. Again, I don't remember it. Of course, we were inside back in 1979. It was really, really cool. It was really, really cool because it was like darker than twilight. Not as dark as midnight, but darker than twilight, and it was a kind of ethereal kind of vibe to it. Like, everything seemed a little off color yesterday, and I was more than impressed that I got to see it and live through it. Because how many times do eclipses happen in a person's lifetime if they don't leave the area? Like, you can fly around the world and go to where eclipses are, because I think eclipses happen a lot, not like every year, but they happen a lot, and you can fly there wherever they have. But have one just go over your house. So I was more than suitably impressed by that. And it did make me remember the 1979 version, where it was a complete washout. And being a young kid, almost a teenager kid, I would have been 12 in 1979. So I would have been grade 7 because anyway, it doesn't matter. I started high school in 81. I think. I don't think it was 1980. I think it was 1981 when I started high school. Could have been 1980. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. And I don't have any of my books anymore to check it out. But I'm glad I got to see it this time. And with Sandy ordered the glasses, the good ones, and we had them a couple days before. And but I didn't like stand outside and watch the whole thing for the 2 hours, whatever it was. I saw it start. I saw going forward, the sun being covered by the moon. I went back and did more work. I came back out at totality. Wow. And then I went back to work. So I came out twice and watched it. But when I was outside the second time and the whole place was dark and all the street lights are on and all the highway lights are on and yet you look way off in the distance and you can see something and blah, blah, blah. It was unique. And I was impressed by that. So that's it. A nice catch up for 20 minutes. You guys don't need any catching up because I've been releasing videos every single day. And this is like 2 weeks before, as I mentioned, the eclipse was yesterday, and this is not going to be dropped until the end of April. so sorry about that. I got way ahead of myself because I'm having fun with it. And so I did let a few days go by since my last video, and so this is my latest video, and I wanted to go up and talk about this while I was pulling stuff out for the next lot the next reconstitution, which I'm not going to mention. But the parts are already out here. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun because it's something I've never ever built before. Just like yesterday, one that you saw yesterday, which I did a few days back. I'd never ever built that one before, and they're right there. See, they're right there. Now you guys already have an idea what I'm doing. Am I going to do all of them? I don't know. I told you I couldn't do the big ship, the big submarine, because I don't have any trans orange old style 4x6 by 2 cockpits. I don't have any. So I never got that set in any used lot. Obviously I got this set in used lot because I'm finding every single piece for it. So except one of these that I need 2. So I'm going to probably substitute for black for now and not worry about it too much. But yeah, I think that's it for now. I hope everybody out there is doing well. What do I need here? 8. Oh, crap. So I need much more. I'm going to finish pulling parts and go to bed. I want everybody out there to stay safe, take care, and hope you're doing well. There's going to be some cute news because a friend of this channel is coming for a visit. I do not know if we're going to make a video whilst they are here. So I'm not going to say anything, yes or no. But I'm having a visitor who's coming down just basically to hang out in the living room. So my friend Jeffy was here last weekend. And we actually hung out upstairs because he's also a very good dear friend of Sandy, and Jeff's girlfriend's also a good and dear friend of Sandy. So we had a nice dinner. It was nice to have visitors, but we did spend some time down here. And my good friend Jeff took an entire tote of basic brick out of here. So again, I am downsizing, and it's making me feel so good. Sorry, I keep on going after I say goodbye. He took a full tote of, and it is a full tote, my fullest tote so far, basic brick out of here. Fantastic. And he took my the big double 2.5 times or 3 times shoebox of instructions out of here. I kept some instructions because some people were asking for instructions, and I have them right there. I'll try to disseminate them as I can, but I kept them, but the rest went to Jeff, and he will do with them as he wants because they're his to deal with. They're out of here. I have space now. I have space. I have room underneath my desk, and as I'm finding more parts, I have more ideas to sell more parts to friends and or whoever wants them. I do still have this baggie here, like I'm making baggies. Probably not the best thing to do, but I have this baggie here of miscellaneous light gray, old gray, modified plates, because I filled them in, and I said any overflow goes here and it gets sold, because I have enough. And I'm actually really getting enthused, just like I just straightened up, resorted, subsorted those wing plates. I'm really looking forward to, because I got a bunch more boxes from the dollar store. So I'm going to be doing some more subsorting of modified plates for various colors. I've done like gray, I've done blue, and I think that's it. I was going to do red, but I think I'll do yellow first, because that's just going to be one. And so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to move on. Because, how many of these do I need? 4! So 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. This is what I do, by the way. I get my little mouse here, and I scroll up on the Piron.com. Piron, none of this newfangled stuff. I'm going old school for old school sets. I don't do the Breck Owls. I don't do the other. They're nice sites. I'm going to give them credit. They made nice sites. But Piron is a perfect site for finding out set inventories for older sets, because it's nice and clean and clear. You don't have a lot of ads. You don't have a lot of stuff on the sides. It just gives you a list with pictures. So I will always go to Piron. Yeah, because those are the only plates I needed. Just like I go to Piron for the instructions for these old sets. I would imagine that these newer brick assemblies, whatever websites they have for with instructions, have better scanned instructions now, because back in the day they didn't have a lot of hard drive space and bandwidth. They had bandwidth concerns and hard drive space concerns. So I think the pixelization on the scanned old instructions on Piron are pretty meh. I even agree with that, but I still go there because I can still see them, and I want to support them because they've been here my entire internet career with Lego. Piron and Lugnet, my two websites of choice, still to this day, because old school. so anywho, that's it. That's all. I hope everybody out there, let me finish this again. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. Just please take care of yourself. Know that whatever you're going through, not to be pithy, but this too shall pass. That's all I got for you right now. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm not even an expert on myself. I'm discovering new things about me every day. I noticed in my life, I mentioned casually some of the things that's happened in my life on a broad level. I'm glad I stuck around. There was some pretty tough times back in the day. Parents' divorce, even though it was a necessity. Even though my two parents are two of the most lovely people I've known in my entire life, and that's not me saying it, it's the whole society telling me how wonderful my parents are. The entire society agrees with me how great my parents were and are, but they needed to get divorced. But it was still tough on a 17-year-old kid. There was times when I was like, oh man, like I never been, like, because I'm this age now that it's kind of hard to diagnose if there's any letters behind my name, ADHD. I don't know. I don't believe so. But I did talk to a few docs over my life about, stuff about depression and stuff. Depression does run in the family. So I know. My whole thing is being at 56 now, feeling the cycles coming and going, feeling the I would say feeling the, what am I doing? Everything's overwhelming. I'm pulling up my hair. I'll never get on top of it. Blah blah blah. The sheer power of reality crushing down on you, so the part you can't breathe. As a scuba diver, I'm very cognizant of that feeling. I did run out of air at 90 feet once, which is a whole other story. The good part about scuba diving is if you run out of air at 90 feet, you come up a few feet and you have air again. It's the pressure of the tank. I basically came up from 1 or 2 breaths, very slowly. Again, no aneurysms, no whatever. Everything's safe. But that was back in the day when we're stupider and not really paying attention to gauges, if I had a gauge at the time. But I know what it's like to physically feel like you can't breathe there, but also having the world crushing, of what it feels like the world's crushing down on you, and you feel overwhelmed and like you can't move. I've been there. I won't say a few times, a great many times in my teens and 20s, and even in my 30s. I will say what got me through is friends, family, my quote unquote faith in reality that this too shall pass. I don't have to mention that I'm not an adherent to any specific religion anymore. I'm really not. But I do know that if you stop and take a breath and be here tomorrow, things may get better. Not a guarantee. There's no guarantees in life. But I also know, my friend John told me this many years ago, and it took it to heart. No matter what problems you're facing today, 1 month from now, you will not have that problem. I've never had a problem for more than a month. Never, like not once. Not a specific problem. The neighbors, whatever. But whatever angst and issues, whatever is going on here, 1 month from now, you're going to look back and say, oh, I made it through that. We're on to the next thing now. And so for me, it's always been take a step, take a breath, take a step, take a breath, take a step, take a breath. And no matter how overwhelmed I felt, I had friends and family. And even when they weren't around, I had let's use this word, faith in myself, appreciation of self, that whatever's going on, I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. Because whatever's going on, I have tomorrow to work on it. And so I never wanted to myself take matters into my own hands, to limit myself to getting to tomorrow. And that overrode any kind of depressive thoughts I might have had at the time, any kind of I got to get out of here, because I've had that feeling. I've had that I have to get out of here, and in a sense of physicalness in the world, not just leaving the house, not like I have to get out of here. This world is too crushing on me. And as there was some sort of voice in the back of my head, if you want to use that coin of phrase, there was some sort of we'll say ego saying, no, I want to see what happens tomorrow. I want to see. I want to see. And most times it's exactly the same as what's going on today, but little baby steps. And it's again, it's akin to exactly how I handle my IT work, and a big, huge fiasco, a big, huge outage, a big, huge crisis, a big, huge whatever. I just showed up and start with the baby steps. What's blinking, what's working, and you work, oh, that wire's good, fine, go on to the next one. And you just you don't try to get the overall picture before you start doing anything. You get right down there into the rack and you say, what here, what's working, what's not working, that's working, that's not working, and then you just kind of eliminate. It's like when we learn how to sort. I'm not even going down that path. But anyway, be here tomorrow. Whatever day this is. Whatever's going on in your life, be here tomorrow. Be there the next day. Do not stop yourself from being here the next day. No matter what's going on today, you do not stop yourself from seeing what's going to be there the next day, because you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. We were in an 8-year battle with the neighbors, and it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. It was the worst experience I've had personally in my entire life. Like, my parents divorced, it wasn't even close, because I knew my parents had to get divorced. Intellectually, emotionally, like, you're a 17-year-old boy and your parents are splitting up, but intellectually, it was the right thing to do. And so you move on, and you understand. You take it. You fake it till you make it. That's another thing I learned, by the way. You fake courage. You fake, even if you don't have any courage, you can fake it. I have. I do it a lot. Still to this day, I fake courage so many times when I'm talking in front of people. I'm very scared. I'm a very, very one-on-one You're the camera. So I'm not talking to an audience of 1,000, even though I have 900 subscribers. I'm not talking to an audience of 1,000. I'm talking to an audience of one. That phone. So it's easy. Hey, phone. Hey. But if there was 100 people watching me right now while I'm videotaping this, I'd be a wreck inside. Right now, I'm not. I'll put my feet up, catch a nap, whatever. But I do get a little kerfuffled, a little, out of sorts, talking in front of people, like a lot of people, like in an arena or something, like in a debate or whatever. I do not, even though I don't mind the microphone, I'm not a guy who looks for a public stage. I'm great with friends. I can talk to 20 friends at the same time, but 100 complete strangers or 900 complete strangers, that's completely different. But I fake the courage, because what else am I going to do? and so even whatever's going on in people's lives, what else are you going to do? See what happens tomorrow. Show up, see what happens. I mentioned this before. I got it from Sports Night, one of my favorite shows ever. And it stuck with me as a cute little pithy thing, but also as a testament to the people. And again, it's one of these little fairy tales. Napoleon, the most brilliant strategician on the history of war, had a two-part battle plan. First part, show up. Just show up. 90% of things that happen are done by people who show up. Just show up. First part of his, and it is not true at all, but first part of his battle plan was to show up. Second part, see what happens. And yes, it's pithy. Yes, it means absolutely nothing, but then again, it means everything. People who show up get things done. People who show up get things moving and tackle it. Break all the big, huge problems onto this little tiny problem. Even if it's just like the problem of getting to the next hour, because that can be a problem to get to the next hour. And again, I've been there. Well, not to that extent, but pretty close. Just get to the next hour, and then just get to the next day, and then just get to the next week, and then just get to the next month, and get to next year. I will say that's my finances, by the way. Back in my 20s, my finances were abysmal. I never ever focused on it at all. And I was not good with them, and I owed a lot of money to a lot of banks. Well, one bank. I was in debt a lot, and I just had I have frivolity when it comes to, it was a fake frivolity, because every time I spent money, my brain was screaming at me, why are you spending this money? You don't have it. Some people have a real frivolity when it comes to money, but I actually have this dichotomy inside my head. Buying that's going to make me happy. And yet there's a screaming voice in my head that says, you buying that's going to make me lose sleep because I don't have money for it. And so when I got to the end of my 20s and I had, creditors calling a lot, something has to be done. And it had to be me. 100% me. I did not involve my parents on it. I did not involve my friends on it. And it was a huge process. But I sat down. And I took that huge problem of all this creditors, and I'm not going to say I read The Wealthy Barber, but I read The Wealthy Barber. but I took this huge problem, this overwhelming tidal wave crashing in my head. Well, I was afraid to answer the phone. I was at that point in my life, in my late 20s. I was afraid to answer the phone because it could be a creditor looking for money. I was there, and I'm going to say this: I wasn't the worst that I've ever met, and I wasn't close to the best, but creditors were calling, not every minute, every day, and I wasn't going to be hauled off to the Hooskow for, not paying an indentured servant, whatever. But, and I had a great job, but I was in debt because of my lifestyle before. And I sat down, and it was deliberate, it was conscious, it was written down. When you write it, it's more real than just thinking in your head, by the way. You write it down. I will not buy another thing, and blah, blah. This is what I will do. I made a budget. And it was tackling the little parts, and then going back in my checking account, because back then you could get them online. I use Excel, I use Microsoft Money, plotting out where the money was going and all the interest charges and all the late payment fee charges and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, holy crap. Like, oh my God, mind blown. Because again, I never in your head, if you're not looking at that specific thing, you don't get it. You don't get it. You're hiding from it. I don't want to open up the bill. I don't want to open up, hey, RBC, send you, I don't want to open it. But as soon as I started opening it and started tracking it, I said, and then talking to smart people about this, because I'm the dumbest guy in the world getting to the state in the first place. But how do I get out of it? Because I'm a dumb person. Talking to smart people, including friends and family, that can, not disparage you bad person, for getting in this situation. Oh, Dave, maybe you can try this. Maybe you can try that. Maybe a little help here. Maybe a little help there. Don't give me money. That would have not helped because I'm in this hole and whatever. But helping me discuss what I can do, the checkbook balancing and blah, blah, blah. In this specific instance, one of the best things I ever read, and I think it's in The Wealthy Barber, but a lot of other people say that, whatever debts you have, credit cards, owing this, bills, whatever, you put them all in a spreadsheet or whatever, you write them all down, and the percent interest charges and blah, blah, blah. And you look at that, and then you have 5, 10, dozens. I can't remember how many I had, but there's a few. And I said, which one's the smallest one you can knock off first, quickly? Because then you lose that interest charge. You lose that late payment charge. You lose that overpaying charge. And that money that you save, $26, like you look at okay, here's some stupid numbers for you. You have a credit card, 18% or 20%, and then you have a balance on it. There's a $5,000 balance, and you've maxed it out. I am not going to calculate the numbers for you right now because I'm not good at that. But you have a $5,000 max credit card, and it's max, and it's charging you 20% interest every single month, compounded, and those interest charges are piling up. And you say, "Oh, I got to pay that off first because it's 20%, and it's already up to $6,000 with the interest charges and blah blah blah. It's $7,000. It was going to be $7,000 in a month, or 6 months, whatever." But I have this little payment down here, $182 to the phone company, because I haven't paid my bill this last month or whatever, and they're going to charge me 9%, whatever it is. Pay that one off first, because then you're going to save money to put on the credit card. You start with the small. You put your standard payment down wherever you can, like just to stop it from getting bigger. Your minimum payment on the rest of the stuff, but you put you pay off the smallest ones first, because that saves you in the long run, because you're not going to have enough money to start to pay off the biggest one first for many, many years. But if you pay off the small ones first, so it's off. So boom, you had 12, now you're down to 11. Boom, the next smallest one, down to 10. Always pay your minimum payments on everything else, so they're not accruing more stuff, but you pay off the smallest ones first. And I did that, and I mapped it out. And the good thing about Microsoft Money back in the day is it had this little graphing program, which is kind of neat, because it figured out all your income coming in and your outgo payments going out, and it would show you like a nice graph over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, how long it's going to take to get stuff paid off. Things happen, cars break down, blah, 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 water heater has to be replaced. Get it, fully understood. But then as soon as you get, I had a completely irrelevant credit rating back in my mid-20s. completely sucky in my mid-20s. And it took me 4 to 5, and I had the same job. So I didn't get any better job to pay off stuff. I just sat down and I looked at it. I was living in my little apartment for a bunch of years, and I had my standard payments. And I was behind on a whole bunch of stuff, and my credit cards were, blah, blah, blah. Creditors were calling for, I will say, delinquent bank account, phone companies before, whatever. And I said, boom, 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 paid them all off, and keep the receipts. I got a quick story for you when I'm done this part. But keep the receipts. But for me, I paid off the smallest one first, and the next smallest one, and the third. So all of a sudden, the other the dozen. All of a sudden, you get down to the big 4, whatever's left, and you say, "Oh, okay. Now I'm saving all the $200, $300, $400 a month for interest charges and late payment fees and blah blah blah. I can now put that $400 towards these big payments instead of putting $40 in the big payments, which would, if I started that way in the big payments, that's all I had in my bank account to put on the big payments. But now I have $400 because I got rid of the bottom 8. Right? It's easy to understand. You get rid of those 8 payments every month, and then cancel them if you can. You don't need 17 credit cards or how many. You need one for emergencies. it's a huge deal in your head, by the way, to stop doing the badness that got you in the hole in the first place. But I did it, and I have no willpower whatsoever. Look at my room. I want Lego. But and so all of a sudden, instead of $40 putting on the big payments, and nothing else is getting paid off because we're just putting the standard whatever the lowest fee that you can get away with. Now you put that $40 on something that's small, boom boom, 3 months it's gone. Then you get $60, boom boom, next one's gone. Then you got $80, boom boom, that one's gone. And it goes up to all of a sudden you get rid of the bottom 8, you're at the last 4, your $5,000 American Express that's costing you 20% monthly and blah blah. You have $400 now you can dump on that every single month that you would have been paying anyway to the other ones had you not paid them off. Now you're paid off. Now you got that money. Do not go buy more Lego. Lesson learned. And then boom, you get that one paid off. And again, my mid-20s, I woke up, fixed it. Took a long time. Took years. Like literally years. Canceled the credit cards I didn't need. Blah blah. I got done running credit card, one checking account. That's all I needed. I had my cell plan for work, thankfully. Blah blah. And then I walked into a bank 20 years ago. I was 34. I walked into a bank, 21 years ago. 2003. I walked into Scotia Bank right here in Nash Road and 20 Nash Road in Queenston. And I said, I want a house loan. I want to buy a house. And they said, oh, come right in, Mr. Cowdays. Here's the paperwork. And I'm going, who are you talking? My dad's not here. He's not co-signing. No, your credit rating is fantastic. What? Like, it took a decade for me to fix all that stuff. But I was 34, 35 years old. I walked into a bank. It took me from 25 to 35, a whole decade to get all that straightened out. And I walked into a bank and they said, here's your mortgage payment. Here's your loan for your house. Here's what you qualify for, blah, blah, blah. And then I went house shopping. I got to go house shopping by myself. I wasn't with anybody. I wasn't dating anybody. And I went house shopping and I picked this one. This one right here. And it was a fantastic feeling. Like that feeling that I got from that, like, because again, a lot of people, and the avarice, whatever, a lot of people have to get their fix, their internal happiness, to feel good to themselves by buying stuff, not necessarily using the stuff. That's why some people have 1,000 pair of shoes or a fancy car, whatever. They want that they get that good feeling by buying. It makes them feel good. Charge it, boom, that feeling, and that feeling for them compensates for the I don't know, guilt and or creditors calling or whatever. On the flip side, because you're not paying your bills because you're not there enough to pay your bills. You don't have enough money because you're too busy buying. That day I walked into the bank and they said, absolutely, Mr. Cuddy, we checked your numbers out. You're looking fine, blah, blah, blah. We will give you this mortgage. You go buy a house. That was like the best feeling I've ever had when it comes to finances in my life. It was phenomenal. And then I went house shopping because I needed a place to put my Lego. so I went house shopping. House shopping took a minute. My real estate agent showed me 3 or 4 houses in the area. One down on the beach strip, which I was really interested in, but the house didn't have a driveway and the house needed a lot of work. The soffits, the eaves troughs have pulled away from the soffits and blah, blah, blah. It needed a roof. The grass wasn't cut in 5 years. There's no driveway. And I have my little apartment down there in Hamilton. I had to park on the road and I was sick of parking on the road. I wanted my own driveway. And so I said no to that one. Then he showed me like a triplex just west of Gage Park, which was kind of interesting because Gage Park is right there, and Gage Park is a gorgeous park in Hamilton, by the way. If you're ever in Hamilton, Gage Park, just for a walk. But I wasn't interested in becoming a landlord right off the bat. I just got my finances fixed. I'm not interested in becoming a landlord. I don't want that kind of overhead in my life. Looking back at it now, it would have been interesting. But I said no. And then he says, I'm going to show you a townhouse. I said, whoa, 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 Tim, no. I told you, no townhouses. My dad and my family is all in construction, and do not ever own a townhouse. No good, no good. And he said, oh, just, humor me. Let's go look at this townhouse. And it was June in 2003. And the flowers are blooming out front. And I opened the front door, and the sliding door was open out the back, and the drapes were open. And the view out the sliding door, I said, Tim, you don't have to show me anything else. I'll sign the piece of paper right now. Because the view here, if you're on my Facebook page, I will post every once in a while the view that we have here for what some people call a crappy little townhouse. The view is spectacular. It is my favorite view. It's my backyard. It overlooks the Niagara Escarpment. And for my little tiny crappy townhouse, which I don't think is crappy. And I looked at the rest house, and it was whatever it was. Everything that needed to be fixed could be fixed by me and family. And so I said, absolutely, buying it. Not a hesitation. Now, again, 21 years ago, I paid $105,000 for this house. When you think about that, 105 grand. I won't tell you what it's worth now. I won't tell you what this place was worth at the peak of COVID, which blew my mind. But 105 grand, and 21 years, mortgage is paid off. Why? Well, I had help because Sandy moved in, but it was going to be paid off anyway. We paid it off a long time ago, the two of us. But before she moved in, I hacked away at a lot of the mortgage already, and I didn't have to worry about it because, again, my finances were in order. So it's like, and it took a lot. And again, I don't want to diminish it. It takes a lot of willpower and a lot of work, a lot of effort, because you're still going to get the calls. I had calls, and this is where I was going to go with this. So overall, my entire life, I've never paid for a cell phone bill. I've never, ever paid for a cell phone bill because every time I had a job, it was in IT, and they give you a cell phone. I never had that big Motorola thing with the big battery in the back that you always saw the landscapers with in Tim Hortons way back in the day when cell phones first became. Because before that, it was just the rich people in the cars that had the actual, what looked like a real phone that was in houses, and they was just attached to it. But when they came out with portable phones, it was that big Motorola, 3 inches thick, 4 inches thick, and it was like big, huge thing, and you hold it to your head and it had that big antenna on it. I never had one of those, but I had the very next iteration of the cell phone or the mobile phone, the Bell Motorola flip phone, which is that big gray thing where you had that plastic little piece that folded over top of the number pad and the 9 LED digits. That was it, and the little flip piece that would flip down, and it weighed 10 pounds, and you had the little thing on your belt to hold it. That was my first cell phone, and my company gave me one, and they paid for it. When that company let me go, I did a phone rollout from the Bell Mobility phone to the Mike push-to-talk phone, which I think got bought out by TELUS at one point, because this is where the story's going. So I was with Mike push-to-talk with my first company that I worked for IT for, and then they let me go, and they let me keep the phone. And they signed over the phone plan to me, and I was bad with money, and I didn't pay the bill, and the bill got up to $800, $800 for a phone bill, cell phone bill, and that was pretty substantive. And it wasn't even a half a year, by the way, because back then phone bills were stupid, cell phone bills were stupid. And then that's basically, and that's with everything else with the credit cards and blah, blah, blah. Basically, when I got completely, my finances got completely out of hand. So I was 25 or 26 years old, 25. And I said, Mike Push-to-Talk is calling me every month for their money. I'm going to send it to the credit, and they send it to, anyway, go into a sec, blah, blah. And they were one of the first ones I paid off, because they were the smallest one. $800, one of the smallest ones, by the way. Just giving you a heads up, $800. But I had another job already, and I was paying things off, and boom, 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 paid off Mike Push-to-Talk. So in the back end, So let's just say this. I'm going to give you some dates, and they might not be accurate. I finished paying off Mike Push to Talk in November, and I made sure, because I again read Wealthy Barber and whatever, paid attention. I had my little flow charts, my graphs, and my Microsoft Money, and I was actually now for the last 3 or 4 years keeping all my paperwork for 7 years. Because that's what you're supposed to do. I never did before. Everything went into the bin. I never even bothered opening half of it, which was bad for me. Kept all my, and then this is what I owe there, and blah, blah, calculated up. And so Mike Push to Talk got bought out by a major carrier. I'm going to use the word TELUS. I don't know TELUS. I can't remember who got it, but TELUS, well, it says TELUS, bought Mike Push to Talk, and they inherited all Mike Push to Talk's customers. And at that point, I had actually got my new job with Laidlaw, if I remember correctly, and or something else. Maybe it was something else, because I started in Laidlaw in 97. But anyway, doesn't matter. I had my new job, and they gave me a cell phone. But I had because I called the person on the phone when I submitted my last payment to get rid of the $800, because it was over a few months, $100 more, $200 here, boom, 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 paid it off 4 or 5 months. And I said to the person on the phone, I said, make sure you send me the last statement that says paid in full, nothing's outstanding, blah, 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 no service charges, everything is good. I made sure that that letter came to me. In November, I got that letter. Fully paid off, blah, blah, blah. And I got, and I'm feeling good about myself, because I was paying everything else off too, and I was getting no more creditors. Nobody's calling me. Nobody's like, they'll keep calling me. They'll keep calling me. Okay. I got it all done, and even during the process, people saw me working on it. They weren't bothering me. Got it all paid off and paying off other things, and so half a year goes by. I get this call out of the blue, and I hadn't got a call from a creditor in over a half a year. And it was fantastic. Again, I didn't have to worry about answering the phone anymore. So friends were calling, and work's calling, and girlfriends were calling, whatever. So all of a sudden I get a phone call. This is the collections agency for TELUS. And I'm going, I never had a TELUS phone. Well, you owe us money, or else we're going to take you to court. And this guy was just brutal. Like right off the bat, he's like jumping right into it. You owe us money. We're taking you to court. And I'm going, what? How do I owe you money? I think it's a scam. This is back then. And he goes, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm not even talking to you until I know what you're talking about. So I need some paperwork. And this is, again, not everybody's using email at this point. So I said, send me a letter. Send me a bona fide letter stating what I owe and who I owe it to. So I get a letter in the mail saying, you owe TELUS this for this account number. And I go, hey, I know that account number. That's my Push to Talk number, but it says TELUS on it. So I called back and I said, oh, TELUS bought that company. Oh, okay. And according to their records, you owe, $500 from this bill from whatever, July. And I'm going, no. I got everything paid off in November. And he goes, I don't believe you. I'm taking you to court. I said, dude. And this is like a half a year later or a year later. I think it was half a year. I have the paper in my hand right now. And it says Mike Push to Talk, November, because the invoice that they sent me that I owed them money was from July, and I paid off in November, whatever it was. And they said, this is July and you owe this money a year later. And I said, I paid it off in November, and this is half a year later. And I said, I have the paperwork in my hand. And he goes, I don't believe you. And I said, well, I'll mail it to you. I'll go photocopy and mail you a copy. But it says Mike Push to Talk. He says, well, TELUS bought them out. And then I mail it to him. And they call me back, and they were like humming and hawing, and like, maybe you're faking all this. And I'm going, what? You have the records. You found the one from July. Why can't you find the one from November? Because here it is, and signed by Mike Push to Talk, again, not working for TELUS, right? And he goes, well, what had happened was when we were importing the records from Mike Push to Talk over to TELUS, they lost a lot of the records because it was not compatible or whatever. There was some sort of IT issue, import issue, where they lost records. And I'm going, wait, well, hold the phone. Wait a minute. You called me. You were taking me to court because I owed you money. And you're telling me now that you lost records. And I said to the guy on the phone, I said, I paid this in November, and I gave him the account number, I gave him the payment, I gave him everything that was on that piece of paper, and you're telling me now that you did not have that in your records? I'm going, how many other people out there right now? How many other people, I'm telling this guy, I'm yelling at him now. I'm not yelling. How many other people are you scamming right now? Because not everybody's going to keep their paperwork like I did. From July to November, many things can happen. You didn't have any August, September, October, November, or December. You just had July where I owed you $500, or I owed Mike Push to Talk $500, and you inherited that debt, quote unquote, and you didn't see what happened in August? Well, we lost that record, so we just thought you owe us from July. I'm going, how you have no legal basis at all. If you don't have something, if you don't have an August invoice that shows you that I owe more, you have June's that said it was $600 and now it's $500. You thought it was going down, and then you didn't have September, October. Like, really? Get off the phone. I'm going to take you to court. Like, this is harassment now, baseless harassment now. Not that I'm going to have a backbone now that I got my finance celebration out. But I was incensed by that because of the ludicrousness of that entire situation. And I said, I'm very fortunate that right now in my life that I kept every piece of paper from that stuff. And I wasn't going to get rid of it for 7 years, because after 7 years, they can't touch you. But you're doing this to, like, everybody else whose records you lost, and they might not even understand or know that, because I was focused on it. I was singularly focused on it for 5 or 6 years to get everything paid off and tickety-boo and squared away, so nobody's calling me. And you're my first phone call after that, after 6 months of not receiving literally anything, I got this jackass on the phone threatening to take me to court for something that I told him on the phone that day that I had paid off. And he didn't, and I get why anybody's going, I didn't pay it off. No, I get that. But if you can't, I said, if you can't bring anything after July saying that either I paid it or I didn't pay it, go screw yourself. Like, you lost the records. How can any company on the planet, even they were just hoping they wouldn't be caught doing it. That's lying. That's straight up lying. We lost the records after July. They didn't import properly. And so if somebody owed like $300 in July and they paid off before August, you're going to say and this is like a year later, a half year later, some people aren't going to keep the records. It was mind blowing after all the stuff that I studied and worked on and blah, 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 that this is what these companies think that they could pull. And it wasn't even TELUS. Like, I'm not saying TELUS. It was the credit agency that they sold the debt to. Like, oh my God. Like, I was so, oh Jesus, Murphy. It was just, oh my goodness gracious. I was absolutely, I was mad at me for being there in the first place. 100% my fault for being there in the first place. And I don't want any kind of pat in the back that I cleaned it all up myself, because I shouldn't have been there in the first place. A good person, a smart person, an educated person, a person on top of things never would have gotten to the hole that I was in the first place. 100% my fault for the late charges and the fees and me ignoring the phone calls and things going escalated to credit agencies. 100% mine. But after I paid it off, and they knew that there was nothing between July and the day they were calling me that says that what I owed or what I didn't owe. Maybe I owed more in August. Maybe I owed $10,000 in September. You have no idea, dude. Like, you have no idea. That to me is wrong. What I did was wrong. 100%. I'll own it. 100% what I did was wrong. Getting into that kind of hole in the first place, 100% wrong. What they did was malfeasance, like corporate malfeasance. And I let it go. I let it go. I have no problem talking about this stuff, by the way. I also want to say this. Because of my focus on finances that I did for a bunch of years and getting literally everything paid off, and